Hey everyone, so doing my second vlog of what's happened recently with my recurrence of brain cancer. Um, I actually didn't have any problems last night with that first chemotherapy pill, TMZ. Um, yeah, I found that the oil kind of worked really well because it just made me sleepy, and so I was able to get a good early night in. Um, and it calms me down as well, so I wasn't worried about, just waking up puking everywhere. Um, and yeah, when I woke up in the morning as well, I felt fine, and all the way through the day, I've not had any problems. I've been trying to really um, do a bit more research into how I can improve my version of the ketogenic diet. Um, the ketogenic diet is quite a naturally anti-inflammatory diet in the sense that most of the foods that make up the diet are anti-inflammatory, like nuts and like especially walnuts, salmon, lots of avocados. Of course, it's a pretty popular pick on the diet. But at the moment, I'm just trying to sort of see if I can tweak it so I can get as much anti-inflammatory foods in there as possible. So, I mean, I've learned a lot from the group beating brain cancer over the past 3 years. Like, most of that time I've been in remission, just helping people who are dealing with the disease. In most cases, most people are dealing with the worst, which is glioblastoma. But I know dozens of people that are now surviving well beyond that prognosis on that, and have even beaten recurrences. Um, I so I'm just taking inspiration from one in particular, James McCraw, because he had a book out recently called I think it's called Killing Cancer with Spices. Um, so his method was to use things like obviously turmeric or turmeric, and always make sure that that's served with some form of black pepper or bioperine to make it more absorbable. And there's also like ginger and garlic, of course. Cinnamon, I was already having tons of that. But yeah, it's just to give me that extra layer of confidence. I've just added those extra spices and um, cayenne pepper as well, which is taking me a bit of getting used to, but turns out you only just need a little bit of that. But yeah, I'm gonna just med up again tonight. Make sure I've got my cannabis oil taken sublingually, so that's under the tongue. I only take at the moment about the size of a pea, and even that just absolutely blows me away if I stay awake. Because a couple of nights ago, when a friend was around helping me out, um, I took my first oil since I knew about this recurrence might be on the cards before um, yesterday's actual diagnosis. Um, and I just barely remembered him being there. And by the time my parents arrived, I was like a bit embarrassed, like, oh, I've got to sober up. Like, I don't want my mother to freak out about how high I look. And of course, my parents, but they're very open minded, and I'm so very lucky to have them, really. I mean, my dad has actually been going through cancer himself over the past year. Um, Last summer, he was diagnosed with a melanoma. So he just had, the typical purpley dark spot on his ear just there. So he had that removed, and we immediately started applying oil, like topically, to the area to see if that would help. But unfortunately, um, he stopped taking the capsule oil, like ingesting it, because uh, I should have told him that you need to take a maintenance dose even when you're in remission. So he got through that operation where he had most of his ear removed, and even the doctors were like saying, "Oh, you should be fine now," and there's no need for an MRI, which I always thought was from the get go was a terrible idea of the doctors to not give him an MRI just to check if anything had metastasized. And sure enough, a few months down the road, he had a swollen lymph node in his neck, and he had to go to Widnes Hospital and have that removed. So that was his first ever major surgery, and he had about 70 lymph nodes taken out. But again, the same thing happened where they were a bit lackadaisical about checking up on him after that. So no MRI really. And then it just came back in a similar area. But the good thing is that because we've now had him on the sublingual oil for so long since he's had that recurrence, all the tumours that he has are very small, and none of them are on like a major organ. Everything's sort of it seems to be in a still motion, like it doesn't want to. Still motion, what's that? They're not growing, they're not spreading as much, and he's on immunotherapy as now, and I have a good feeling that when he's taking the oil and combining a standard of care like immunotherapy, I have a good feeling that that's going to turn out well for him, because I know immunotherapy, especially in skin cancer, is making some pretty good gains against combating this disease. So it's getting a bit late now. I've got my attempt at an anti-inflammatory light, which is just an LED that turns red. So yeah, I'm going to go med up and take my chemotherapy, my second one, and I'll see if there's any changes tomorrow. Maybe this kicks in over time, I don't know. But hopefully I'll have a bit more oil soon. The thing is, I still need to kind of fight prohibition, because somehow it's like I now have two battles to fight. So the battle against prohibition is me fighting for my access to cannabis, because I know in the past it's given me a shot into remission, and it's helped stop me having epileptic seizures. It's also completely cured me of the anxiety that I had before my original diagnosis, which was building up every year. So I guess I'll leave it there, because I never script these things. I just ramble off the top of my head, and then I'm thinking, and I get blocked and everything, and it's these are going to be a bit more messy. I'm not so focused on editing these videos like I did last time round, where I was just taking out every and every time I was thinking. But I think I'm just going to keep it a bit more raw this time, just so I can get these recorded on my phone and just uploaded as I sleep. So I'm going to end it there. And I just want to say as well, this is what happens. I must say a huge thank you to the cannabis community in the UK as it stands today, because so many of you have really rallied round me since this recurrence was diagnosed the other day. All the support that you've given me on the various groups that we have. I've not really cried when I was told that I have cancer again this time. I wasn't upset in that way, but I did shed a few tears the other night when Callie Blackwell and JJ were just really rallying around me and assuring me that there's a lot of love in this community for people that need help. And I'm in awe of this community. I mean, every year it just seems to get more closer and closer, close-knit community, and that's, there's like little internal battles here and there, but at the end of the day, I think it just kind of, most people just shrug it all off, because we're all just kind of fighting for the same thing, just to get a plant, just to have access to it, just because there's some people out there in corporations that see it as competition, even though most of our research suggests that we still need the standard of care in combination with cannabis in order to have a shot at remission. And we're not using the word cure. We never really use that. It's a word we try to educate people not to use in this community now, because I mean the science is on our side. We're a community that's been forced to become scientifically literate, and part of that journey for most of us is understanding that cannabis is not a cure. It is just a tool to help you get into remission from an inflammatory disease, just like what is available on the standard of care. So yes, just a big thank you to all my friends and family that have supported me through this, and of course just big love to that cannabis community in the UK. I love all of you. You're brilliant. All right, night night.